Duties in participatory democracy is what we are discussing next. And on this panel, we are joined by, of course, Mr. Sameer Kocher, Chairman and founder of Scotch. Three industry stalwarts are on the panel today discussing the art of being good by Mr. Bhaskar Pramanik, who's a corporate leader and distinguished fellow Scotch Development Foundation, accomplished management leader and professional from the technology industry, held national and global leadership positions across various top multinational technology companies, currently an independent board member and advisor to various companies. Also, a mentor with number of startups, until recently on the board of State Bank of India. Welcome to you. Times of crisis unleashing potential is being brought on the table by Mr. Sudhir Nair, MD, Commercial Sales, Cisco, India and SAC, with 27 years of extensive experience in business management, sales, partner management, and leadership in technology industry. Responsible for transforming India's largest partner ecosystem to enable the digital transformation of Indian businesses. He will be in an interlude chat with Rohan on the topic, same as the discussion, duties in participatory democracy, which is going to be the next episode today. Bringing felt needs to public policy is what Karuna Gopal, President, Foundation for Futuristic Cities, is going to be talking about. She is a member BJP National Manifesto Subcommittee and has been a thought leader and a futurist who has influenced urban transformation in India for more than 1.5 decades. So with this, I invite Sameer to kindly take over from here. And
CEO with a heart, maybe an oxymoronic kind of a statement, but there are indeed CEOs amongst us who do go beyond the balance sheet and are driven by heart and are moved by the plight of fellow citizens and do have a sense of patriotism in them. One such CEO, though working for an American multinational called Cisco, is Sudhir Nair, who in this time of crisis was probably the only CEO on LinkedIn who said, if you need help, reach me. If you work with me, reach me. If I can help you, reach me. If I can help upgrade your skills, reach me. And for all of this, we are happy to invite Mr. Bhaskar Pramanik, who's been a mentor and a friend and a boss with Sudhir Nair in several roles on art of being good, talk about his experiences with Sudhir Nair and also conferred this year's Scotch Challenger Award for CEO of the Year on Sudhir Nair. Big round of applause on that. Bhaskar, tell us about art of being good and Sudhir Nair.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I've known Sudhir and his family for, I think, upwards of nearly 2 decades, I think slightly short of 2 decades. And he's worked with me in a number of different organizations. And the best part is that whenever I started a new assignment, he was one of the first persons I got to meet. When we talk about the art of doing good, art is really an idea. It's a thought. And then it's when you make it into a science that you can actually perpetuate it for posterity. And therefore, it's the same thing with when you talk about the art of being good. Lots of companies, lots of organizations, lots of people and leaders have lots of ideas of what they mean by good. And somehow or another, it gets translated into committees, it gets translated to checks being signed, money being given to NGOs, with the hope that something will happen. And then at the end of it, it's been published in the balance sheet that, look, we've done so much of good. But, it has to go beyond that. And I think it's really critical and important to understand that especially during the last 12 months, a large number of organizations and CEOs have realized that they have to relook at the purpose of their organization. Organizations which are primarily focused on financials, which are primarily focused on a return of shareholder value, are not going to be able to stand the test of time. And they will have to look at whether they are contributing either to their local community, to the nation, or to the globe at large. And therefore, doing good is not just a set of random, acts of kindness, as you would put it, but it is basically ensuring that as an organization, you are focused on perhaps some of the biggest challenges which are facing, the globe today. And I'm not talking specifically about India. And in that context, the United Nations actually created the Sustainable Development Goals as a blueprint to mobilize efforts across all member states and stakeholders. The SDG set 17 global goals to be achieved by 2030, ensuring that we take the bold steps necessary to tackle these challenges. And some of these challenges include poverty, inequality, climate change, and universal healthcare. And these call for bold solutions. So what is the role of corporations and what is the role of leaders? It's very clear that it's driven by the leadership in organizations. And therefore, more and more, what has happened is that we found that over the last year, our chief executives of the largest organization are using this unparalleled moment in history to lead with increased purpose and impact, both societal and economic. They are leading with empathy and humanity as they prioritize talent and corporate responsibility, finding opportunity amid a fall in global economic confidence and rewiring their businesses for tomorrow's new reality. And that's really the importance of good leadership, of great leadership, to ensure that their corporations are actually achieving good. And the key words here, which I've used, is empathy and humanity. One of the other big realizations of this pandemic has been that CEOs with very high IQs, with a considerable amount of experience, have really not performed as well for their companies as CEOs with what I would call high EQ, emotional quotient. And in that context, I wanted to highlight Sudhir because he provides, I think, leadership in two very specific areas. One is in terms of motivation, his own motivation. Number two is in terms of empathy. And number three is in terms of self-awareness. These, I think, are very critical and important behaviors of or attributes of good leaders. And that's where he has excelled right through his career. In a very short form, I can say that, basically Sudhir was what I would call a people person. Whenever we had to take a strategic decision, his first response is, what does it mean to my customers? What does it mean to my people? What does it mean to my partners? That's his focus. It's not really about the outcome, but what is the impact, not just the outcome for the company, but what is the potential impact it has. And that's why, I wasn't surprised when he wrote to me during the pandemic and says, hey, I want to give back to society. And I want you to just to share another story with you. When he was in Microsoft, he had a road accident, a terrible road accident, which sort of put him, so he was bedridden for nearly, it was practically a near-death situation. And he was very fortunate because the rest of his family was with him in that car when that accident happened, but he was the only one who was badly impacted. And he was laid up for nearly 6 to 7 months at home, perhaps even longer. And he had to go through a slow process of rehabilitation. Even during that period, he stayed in touch with his friends, his colleagues. His family was there to support him. His friends were there to support him. But he never, ever once said that, I'm not going to be able to work. In fact, that gave him that additional challenge to go out and do something. And that just gives you an idea of the kind of courage and, he has as an individual. More important, during this pandemic, he wrote to me and he says that, look, I want to give back to the society. I want to help the IT industry. There's so many people who have joined the industry, and I want to share with them my experiences to help them to provide these kinds of skills. And that's why he set up this portal to to be able to do that. And he actually recruited a large number of his friends, mentors, CEOs who would participate in that. So to me, this is what leadership is about. It is about empathy. It is about social self-awareness. It is about motivation. And I think Sudhir characterizes all of these. The other thing which I once mentioned to you, Samir, is that Sudhir is another guy who makes things happen. He's not the kind of guy who sits there and lets things overtake him. He goes out and makes things happen. And that's why he was one of my most successful performers and leaders in the organization. So once he sets his mind to it, he goes out and makes it happen. So thank you, Sudhir. You deserve this award. And thank you, Scotch, for recognizing and presenting it to him.
Thank you so much. Sudhir, just a few quick words from you, then we move on to chat with
Absolutely.
we're running a bit behind.
Samir, hope you can hear me. Just a quick audio check. Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much, Bhaskar and Samir, for this recognition. And I honestly believe that this is a new era which will start today, because I feel more responsible now, because celebration is equal to responsibility for me. And this will give me the courage. And I am also fortunate to see 733 people on this call. Hopefully, by end of my next 15 minutes chat with Rohan, I can convince each one of them to give 1 hour of their time, and we can make a difference to 10 lakh people. And that's really what I'll be looking forward to. And there is no better place to get a recognition like this from your guru, which is Bhaskar. He's been mentoring me, coaching me for 20 plus years, and a lifelong mentor. And Samir, I know you for the last 15 years, I guess. So thank you for doing the wonderful job that you're doing for the industry. That's pretty much from my side. Back to you, Samir.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, Bhaskar, we also need to celebrate another very brave lady who's with us, who's had almost like a cardiac arrest, and she's had a fairly challenging time, much like Sudhir. And I think people who go through a trying time in personal life like to get back to the society. So we have Mrs. Karuna Gopal with us. She's president of Futuristic Cities, and she's done a phenomenal job in urban policy making. So the next award this afternoon is going to Karuna ji. Karuna ji, in case we run out of time, I will schedule you closer to Suresh Prabhu to talk. So I think you would be in a better position. But congratulations to you. So Bhaskar, you have to say both to Sudhir and to Karuna ji that you confer this award. So you say, I confer this award to you, Sudhir Nair, and I confer this to Karuna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a surprise, Samir.
Yeah, and it's good to meet you, perhaps virtually, Karuna ji, but I wish you all the best and congratulations for the award.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. So Rohan, now for chat with Rohan, and your time is also cut short because 12:23 is a hard stop when minister comes in.
Are we pinned?
Yeah.
Well, a very warm welcome to you on episode 3 of Chat with Rohan, Mr. Nair. Mr. Nair, are you there, sir?
Karuna,
Yes,
you have
I'm
to switch
here.
off your
I hope you
video.
can hear me now.
Nair has to put it on.
Ron, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can, but I don't think I can see you, sir.
Sorry, just say it again.
I can't see you. I can hear you, but I can't see your video.
Maybe it will just come up. I just changed my connection. There was.
Yeah, I can see you. If you could kindly unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, Ron. Hope you can hear me now. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Excellent. So as I was saying, a very warm welcome to episode 3 of Chat with Rohan, where experience meets aspiration, Mr. Nair. It was heartwarming to hear the kind words that Mr. Bhaskar Pramanik had to say about you today. They say the seeds of success and ambition are often planted early on in one's life. Your father worked in a fertilizer company in Punjab. Your mother was a Hindi teacher in the same school in Nangal where you studied. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the formative years and your early motivations in life?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I think it was like a typical middle class family, and The only, I think, dream my parents had is that for me and my sister to get some good education, and they spend a fortune of the earnings that they had to make sure that we got to good colleges. And the second thing that my father always said is that, look, there's no point in actually running around things if you just can't have a simple meal and end of the day with your family and friends. So keeping the whole community together, I learned from him and also from my mother. And probably the third thing that I learned from my mother was people call it giving back. I call it giving forward. How do we give it to others so that we can take everybody forward along with us? So those were the three fundamental lessons my parents taught me. And I'm really grateful to them for that.
Mr. Nayak, I believe your first job after NIT Warangal started from a one-room home office in Jaipur. In fact, I believe you'd missed the start date, which is why the company had to relocate you. You'd contracted typhoid. You then went on to single-handedly build this office out. Have you always been someone who's responded well in crisis and high-stress situations?
Look, honestly, this is the learnings that I got from my father, and he used to say that in any crisis, if you sit down and plan with a peaceful mind and go and ask the right help, everything is possible. So the whole concept of planning I learned from him, and his favorite example used to be that if you're planning for a marriage, have you planned for that matchstick? Because in the end, when you want to lit the fire there, you won't find the matchstick. So if you're not planned for the matchstick, then you will be missing something somewhere. And I use that in my business as well. And I didn't start from a single room office. I started on the road. There was no office. It took me 6 months
Wow.
to convince my leadership that, look, we need to find at least one room. So my one room apartment that I rented was in a new city, Jaipur, where I never been, was where I started my work. And after that, things were nice to me and we kept on growing from one place to the other.
Mr. Nayak, 4.5 million people work in the Indian IT sector, yet very few scale the heights that you have been able to achieve. You have always believed in giving back to those in need. Throughout the COVID pandemic, you were on the phone helping people you did not even know with advice and guidance. Has there ever been a time in your life where a stranger reached out to you when you needed help?
Yes, and as Bhaskar spoke about this, look, 5 years back, when you have a road accident, and in India, 911 and ambulance takes its own sweet time when you are on a highway, right? So some stranger whom we still don't know, my family still doesn't know, stopped this car and took a wounded person like me who had lost so much of blood and just made sure that he dropped me to the nearest hospital, which was probably 15 kilometers from that place. And that 15 minutes saved my life. And so great was the gentleman that he didn't even stop to give his name or number to my wife, and everybody was in a state of panic. But somebody stopped unknowingly, did something good and saved my life, and that sort of got me to think that what am I doing about it? For all the learnings that and earnings that I had in my career, I'm going to give part of that back or forward to the society. So that was a changing moment for me.
Mr. Nair, when the world was going through a crisis, professionals were losing their jobs, people were in financial distress, you were thinking of ways of helping out. Play to Potential provides 20,000 years of combined IT industry knowledge and expertise to those who are budding and future IT leaders. You've been trying to help out with a helping hand. What is the potential that you see in the Indian IT sector and the potential workforce over the next 10 years, sir?
Look, it's already a very leading driver to our contributor to our GDP, and you all know the numbers, so I'll not get there. But I think the transformation in the industry will be probably 3x or 5x in the next 5 years for sure. I don't know about 10 years. That is too long a time to predict. And I think what two, three trends very clearly I see that anything which you can put as a routine job can be taken over by machines and AI and algorithms. So we all need to bring in new skills in terms of whether it is emotionally connecting with our customers or understanding their needs better and breaking from our relationship with our customers and partner from being reactive to proactive. And that's something that the robots can't do for us. So basically what I'm saying is there is a huge reskilling which is required. Take a simple simple part. When I was thinking about this whole idea of a portal, my 17-year-old son came and told me that, Dad, you can do that in 3 hours. You don't have to build it yourself. All these tools, technologies are there. You just have to put your thoughts together, and the system builds it for you. So I think the skills of tomorrow will be, how do you use various pieces of technology and analysis with us and put it into a meaningful form to absorb that and take. We're going to move from digital experience to digital decision making, and that will need a whole new skill set that we'll have to change.
This
Thank you
reminds me
so
of
much, Rohan. We'll have to possibly record another episode with you. I see Mr. Suresh Prabhu joined us. Thank you so much, Sudhir. I think we'll do another recording for maybe a longer episode with Rohan. With you, I'm sure he still has a lot of questions that are unanswered. Thank you so much, and congratulations for